of the corona are hovering over us. The second wave, which we keep talking about, this wave is already here. We are struggling against it with a determination. We are struggling against it in unity. The line that guides us is taking health steps, medical steps, together with economic steps. Health steps that will help us keep your life safe, your health, citizens of Israel, and economic steps that will make the distress that many of you are struggling with easier. I hear your distress. You're not alone. As I said in the beginning of the week, today money went in already for self-employed and for business people. 380,000 people got the grant today. The average is about 4,700 shekel per person, and some 130,000 people got a grant of 7,500 shekels. We promised, the finance minister and I, and we did it. This is the first thing. This evening, I want to announce on a completing step that we decided on, an additional economic support to all the citizens of this country. I'm saying an additional one because this is a step in addition to the economic plan that we showed you a week ago, and also the economic measures that we took in April, May. And according to the Statistics Bureau, hundreds of thousands of people went into the labor market. But this is what we're adding this evening. A family with one child will receive 2,000 shekel grant or stipend. A family with 2 children, 2,500, and a family with 3 children and more will receive 3,000 shekel. All the others are going to get 750 shekel per person. In other words, all the other citizens above the age of 18 will get 750 shekel per person. A soldier, a student, a pensioner, each of them is going to get 750 shekels. Why are we giving this money out? We have to move the economy. People are sitting at home. They do not consume. When we give them this money, they go and buy. It encourages growth. They go and buy things. The moment they go and buy things, businesses are expanding. They need more workers. So this money actually encourages consumption and also employment. It's going to move the wheels of the economy quicker. But that's what we have to do. We have to move the wheels of the economy. And by the way, I'm telling you, to encourage consumption, please buy things made in Israel. I understand global economy, whatever, but I tell you, please buy blue and white things that are made in Israel. Benny Gantz is with me on that. Buy things made in Israel and use this money in order to move those wheels. And after we approve this plan, we have to understand that most of the citizens of Israel are going to get this money within days, through the mechanism of the Social Security. But we have to pass it in the government. First of all, we have to make the decision. I'm sure that I'm going to get the support of Benny Gantz and others in order to pass it in the government, but it's not obvious that it won't have to be legislated. I hope not. We're looking for ways to circumvent that, and I hope that we'll be able to suffice with the decision of the government. But if we have to legislate, and I expect all the factions of the House to support it so that we can transfer the money to you, citizens of Israel, quickly. And I say quickly. If we start disputing now about criteria and tests, how much this one is getting and the other, it's going to take a long time. I hope not months. I hope not even weeks. We're not going to get out of it. And I want to tell you, you, the citizens of Israel, you need this money now because of the reasons that I mentioned. Some people are not exactly fit for this criteria or another. I heard yesterday from consultants and experts, a professor of economy, Professor Feldman, said to me, She said, you know, it's better that in 2 years' time from now, we'll look back and we'll be sorry that we gave too much, than looking back in hindsight and crying that we didn't give enough. I read an article in the IMF, and they say exactly like me. I said, you have to give exactly to this one and people who are capable or not. We changed our mind, because now what we have to do is universal support to everybody in order to move the wheels and that nobody falls between the cracks, and also to focus on people who really have special needs, and it will cost a lot of money. But that's what we need now. It's not just me saying it. Many people say it. The best economists in the world are saying it. They did it in a few countries, like in Japan and South Korea. It's not an invention. It's not a whim. You have to move now the wheels. And I'm saying to you, I'm a staunch supporter of free trade for years, for decades, especially in the reforms that we did. We always brought our economy to a situation that we can do it now. In a rainy day, we are ready. And what we're doing now, it's not the end of the story. We're going to bring other plans of direct financial aid and incentives to rehabilitate the economy. We're going to give you economic certainty as much as needed during the entire time of the coronavirus. In addition to that, I also directed that within 48 hours we're going to take additional steps that we will be able to flatten the curve. We made decisions quickly in the first wave. They brought us to an excellent situation, but now we have to continue to take very determined steps in order to go back to that situation and to succeed even more. I'm saying it to you. My friends, you're listening to me. It's in the hands of all of us, all the citizens of this country, secular and Haredi, and I know that they have a lot of problems. My heart is with them, Jews, Arabs, Druze, all of us, everybody together. Yes, leftists and rightists. It's in the hands of all of us. We're doing everything possible in order to avoid a full lockdown. In order to avoid a full lockdown, I need the full cooperation of you, the citizens of Israel, the full cooperation in following the rules so that we can succeed together. We have to make the regulations of the Ministry of Health as a habit, a way of life. You get out of the house, you wear clothes. When you get out of the house, now you wear a mask. You have to change your way of life, because that ensures that we're going to succeed. I work with the ministers of the government and all the experts on health and economy from Israel and abroad to prepare a long-term plan to open safely the economy, safely open the economy, in order to enable us to cope with the coronavirus as long as it takes, half a year, or even more. But I reiterate that the basic condition is the continued cooperation of your citizens of Israel, wearing the masks, distancing, hygiene. Don't be tempted to bypass these instructions in this way or another, because you're going to jeopardize your life and the people dear to you. And another thing. I just heard about an American guy, 30 years old, who died. And before he died, he was infected in a corona event. And the last words he said were, I thought that this is a conspiracy, but I made a mistake. The conspiracy industry exists in this country as well. It's unbelievable. I hear about a public figure who calls for civil rebellion. Israel is a free democracy, freedom of speech and freedom of demonstration, of course, is kept. Definitely at this time of economic distress. But to attach politics to the coronavirus and to not follow the rules is a real danger. People are infected because they don't keep the rules, and then they infect other people. It's absolutely a disaster. We are now are now in very harsh days. But what we saw in the streets in the last few days, we forget that. We ignore the question of all the reservations and responsibility, and it's not just protest that's legitimate, but violence against police people and citizens. There's no way for public figures to say that people should violate the instructions. No one from any side of the politics has the right to say that. I tell you, we cannot even talk about civil riots. We cannot start hating each other, hating brothers. I remember in these days what happened to our people in ancient times, where hatred prevailed. We cannot go there. We have to act exactly the opposite way. We have to deepen the unity among us, to maintain and look after our home. And with joint forces, we're going to struggle against the corona, and we're going to prevail. Thank you. Questions? Thank you, sir. You said that you're just allocating money without distinction so that people will be able to continue. But some people who still work can continue to spend money. But there are many, many people, social workers and nurses and doctors who are going to strike next week. How will this money be enough? Where were you 2 months ago? You spoke about that everything is okay, and now you're talking about a lockdown again. What happened between? I just said a few weeks ago, and I didn't say just go and violate the instructions. I said that where we are now, when we did, I think, something that was not correct at the end was opening the events halls and all the gatherings. And that's why these instructions now... Who's to blame? Again, who's to blame? I say that we have to, you want to incite, you want to talk about, I want to talk to you about real things. The gatherings and the attempt to not listen to these instructions. These things are what's leading us to disaster. And the curve goes up. So anybody who's not obedient makes a mistake. Anybody who doesn't follow the rules is irresponsible, because a person has to look after himself, but to look after others as well. And maintaining these tools is also taking care of our economy. Now, you asked me, why do we give money? Because there's two different things. One is the recommendations of the people to incentivize the economy, and of course to deal with sectors who need help. By the way, social workers, on the contrary, I said yesterday in a discussion we had with ministers and experts, I said the first thing I want to do is to help the health system. I directed, and the Minister of Finance takes care of it, that the finance minister will give them the positions and the budgets they need. And of course, there are other factors who take care of, like social workers, and we will take care of him. And if it costs a little more, it will. The regular rules in the situation of Corona, in this crisis, the rules that I used to make sure that nobody's going to preach me. I was the one who kept the budget. I used to cut the budgets. I developed the idea of competition and fiscal responsibility and whatever. It's true. But we are now in a completely different situation. We are now in a global crisis. Unless we make sure that we can move the wheels of our economy and to give certainty to any citizen, some will get more, that's true. Some don't need so much and others do, but let's make sure that everybody gets. And in such a way, we can move the economy ahead. Only this way. If we start now, we'll start discussing and disputing and to wait until the money arrives, we're not going to get out of this situation. What I'm talking about, the way we are now going, it's going to move the economy forward. It'll help everybody. Do you decide on these, would you decide on these grants even if thousands of people wouldn't take to the street? Are you doing it just to calm down the people? And you said you wanted to fire the head of the budget department. Is that correct? I can tell you that it's not the first time that I have discussions with civil servants. Many times civil servants go against what I think. It's not just in economy, also in security. But at the end of the day, the responsibility is mine. We are the leaders, and I do what I think is essential at this time. It's essential in order to move the economy. And I'm talking about this plan way before these demonstrations and protests. I spoke to Professor Simchon and to the finance minister. We've been talking about it for a long time. I think that this thing is essential. Now, what am I talking about? When I made big reforms and getting out of the economic crisis in 2003, what led me was this principle. You move the wheels of economy, you go 1-2 steps ahead, and you say, let's do a reform, but then rest and wait. No, on the opposite, I would make one reform and another reform. And if people thought this was it, I did another one and another one, because you create the sense in the labor market, in the public and in the world that you are determined to move the wheels of economy. That's what we'll do. Of course, there's a limitation at the end of the day. But at the moment, the capital cost is so low. How much is it now, Avi? What are we talking now about? Debentures of 10 years, 0.62. How much was a debenture at the time, the bonds in the big crisis? It was 10% or something, 12%. Do you understand what I'm saying? I acted when our economic situation was disastrous, and I made this economy to one of the best in the world. And we have credit today, through which today I can get money in order to deal with the moving of the economy. So don't give me lectures about economy. All these people, with all due respect, I do the thing that I believe in, that it is essential now in order to move the economy ahead. Minister, you said that we have credit, but what's going to be next month? In 2 months' time, these grants, some people say that they have no economic logic. What about those people that were not jeopardized by the crisis and still get money? And is Benny Gantz to blame for the fact that we cannot flatten the curve? Somebody said that he doesn't cooperate, and what the Prime Minister is trying to advance is going to eventually bring us to more disasters. I'm not dealing with politics here, but I believe, based on conversations I had with Benny Gantz in the last few days, that we're going to collaborate at this critical moment for the sake of the people of Israel and for the economy. I'm sure there's no reason why not, because we have to do it. Now, you kept repeating the same argument. I separated two. If you said to give money only to those who deserve it, it's going to take a long time. I'm giving it to every citizen because I want all these citizens will go buy things, will consume. I want everybody to go and buy. And if we made a mistake, as Professor Feldman said, let's say we made a mistake, and we gave some more to people who didn't deserve it. So the price of this mistake is so low, as opposed to the fact that we may not have given enough and the economy didn't move on. So it's not even a consideration. I'm just saying that many people who criticize me now are the same people. It's incredible. The same people who told me that the steps I took in 2003 to rescue the economy from that terrible crisis, and they told me not to do it, it's going to bring us to a big disaster. And I said exactly the opposite. And I made the Israeli economy one of the best in the world. And that gives us the capability that people don't identify now, that we can be more generous and quick now in order to rescue the economy. What's happening in the future? I have news for you. We'll have another plan. Another plan. We're working on it. The finance minister and all our economic advisors, we're talking about more steps. And my goal, we want a long-term plan. We are now flattening the curve, and it's difficult. We have to do steps very soon in order to flatten the curve of the disease, and parallel to that, to bring a long-term plan in order to exit safely with the economy for the corona as long as it takes. Thank you, sir. Last week we spoke what's going to happen with the state budget. We see grants of 2,500, 3,000, but is there going to be election? Do you want elections? No, on the contrary, I want exactly the opposite. I want to stabilize the economy. When you take all these things and you take these steps now in order to move the economy ahead and in order to produce employment, all this creates a budgetary pit. I'm not denying it. Yes, many billions. It creates uncertainty to a certain extent. We don't know what's going to happen in world economy. We also don't know in other things that we did what's going to be the scope of our expenses and what will be our income. How much money are we going to get in? In 1 month, I think more money came in June than we expected. Still, less than it was, but more than we expected. Great. Tell me what's going to happen in July, August. I can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen in July, August, or September, October, November, December. Nobody knows. I'm talking about this year. And what's going to happen later? You cannot upload uncertainty over uncertainty. Here we are committing ourselves. We are committing regarding all the families and all the workers. Some of them, I really don't know how it's going to happen, to cost, but whatever it costs, it costs. You cannot go beyond that at the moment, beyond a budget, in order to close the year 2020 and to make a decision what you do in 2021. But we must have a budget. I agree wholeheartedly for everybody, for soldiers, for social workers, for policemen, for everybody. I didn't present it yet. What we're doing now is a corona package. These are plans for the corona time. I didn't spoke about the entire economic plan and all the arrangements law, which has a lot of reforms we're going to do together in order to move the wheels of the economy with other measures. We're talking about a corona package. There's a lot of uncertainty about that, but we have to give it now. I really hope, without legislation in the Knesset, but we have to. With your permission. Thank you. Finance Minister Israel Katz. Prime Minister. Just 1 second, says the Prime Minister. Yes, a very important goal. Good evening, all the citizens of Israel. This plan, this step of giving grant to every citizen, soldier, student, and every family, these are the sums. This is a completing step to the plan of the safety net that we spoke about a week ago. This step is not a classic economic step. The plan that we presented here is a plan that talks about giving economic safety net for entire year to employees, to freelancers, to business people. But this step completes it. And it enables to actually transfer monies quickly, without criteria, as opposed to the organized plan, in order to enable to move the consumption and the demand and to give money to everybody in the states of Israel. And this is something, some countries did it, by the way, and they did it parallel to other plans. The main thing that we are leading, the Prime Minister and myself. I, as a finance minister, I'm in the forefront of the economic activity, and I'm responsible to make sure that all the decisions will be implemented. This plan is legislated in the Knesset. We finished the first phase. With the help of God, we'll end it next week, the entire legislation, and it's going to embark upon its way. And then, constantly, one payment is going to be given as a completion to the grants to hundreds of people who got it. They're going to get more than what they got until now. And later on, 7 bi-monthly payments. They're going to get their own personal salary and also the grants for businesses. These are the self-employed that you talked about. These are the employees who really need focused help. And the sums are quite significant, from 0 to 1 million shekel. People are going to get aid. Every single day I meet with all sorts of sectors and people and representatives and experts in order to make sure that the plan will be adaptable to every sector, tailor-made. This is the main effort that the Prime Minister and I and the entire government are doing in order to help and to give the real safety net. Some people say it's exaggerated. Those who criticized yesterday, after you make it, they say, no, what, you're going to give unemployment to everybody? Nobody will go out to work. And I tell you that people don't want to be unemployed. I don't know who was unemployed recently. People want to go back to work. People do not want help for the businesses. They want their business to be active fully. That's what they want, but still it's not possible now because of the return of the virus. The Prime Minister said it's better to give more than less, even in the plan to those people who are getting this assistance. We're going to continue with that. And we saw in June, in fact, and I'm not talking about percentages of unemployment, but one thing is definite, that incentive to the employers, and I insisted, and I passed it. I did it quite harshly, because I wanted it that the message will get to the business owners that in 1st of June they can bring their workers back, 4,500 shekels for each worker. You know what happened? That's what's interesting. Some 500,000 people who didn't work out of the million plus went back to work. They went back. People want to go back to work. They don't want to be unemployed, and the businesses don't want their people to be in the leave of absence. And now, by the way, it changed the moment that the businesses saw that demand is going down. Those demands that we're trying now to raise them, they also released workers. So therefore, we have to be ready for this entire process. I think that the economic deployment and the deployment solution in this distress is effective and it's extended. But together with that, anybody who asks, and what about training? Okay, they're part of the plan. They're going to be professional, accurate, in a very high level. Not just with, like in the past, that trainings were not fit. And some people ask, where is growth? It's in the plan. But the real answer is the budget. And 40 laws that I've been asking from all the politicians already to forget politics and allow us to pass it already. We don't want any barriers. We want competition, and we want import, and we want to open the Israeli economy. We want real estate growth, building. Everything is in this plan in order to enable to work with two arms. One is the assistance. We gave it organized way. We're giving it now in this phase. However, we need the two arms to meet in a year's time to end the Corona and to give assistance, and also the Israeli economy that will be connected in a much better way than we started before the Corona, with adaptations in order to be a leading country in the world and to give hope to every citizen that together we're going to prevail, both in health and in the economy. And I think we're doing the right thing. The Prime Minister, again, is in the forefront in the health arena, and I personally think that we cannot close down the Israeli economy. No way. The Prime Minister thinks the same. So some people from the Health Ministry will come, and there's a dialogue. And in this dialogue, you have to deal and to focus, not to give up. We have to contain and stop the illness, but we have to advance the economy. And I really want to address the citizens. Trust us. We committed ourselves. All the payments we promised are going to get there. All the assistance will come. This is just an additional step. Everything is going to get there. I said it and I'm saying it again. And we're doing everything so that together we have to build the state of Israel in a way that within a short period it will go back to be a leading country in the world, and all the citizens will feel pride and be part of this power. Thank you very much. Thank you, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance.
We have just listened to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.